Welcome back, boys and girls. I am so happy to be here with you again for day 2 of our week of prayer. We had a great time in session 1, and I'm wondering, did any of you draw the monarch butterfly that we did in our last session? I hope you posted your pictures so everyone can see them. It's really exciting for me to see your work. You guys do such a beautiful job. Today, we're going to continue talking about our amazing Creator God. How many of you remember the first angel? Let's take a look at the page from our book again. Wherever you are, read it out loud with me so that everyone can hear you wherever you are. Ready? He made the earth and outer space. Now go and tell in every place. So now that we know that version of it, I think you're ready for the actual Bible text. So let's take a look at Revelation 14. And again, I would like you to read this with me, please, nice and loud so all can hear. Are you ready? Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the springs of water. Do you think you can learn this verse this week? It's really not too hard. So let's all try to be able to say that from memory. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the springs of water. We are talking about God the Creator this week, and we learned a very important word yesterday. If you really want to appreciate God's beautiful creation, you need to what? Do you remember? Be curious. That's right, be curious. Because if you're not curious, you're going to miss a lot. There's so many amazing things here, and you're going to miss it. So you don't want to just rush outside for recess and forget to look around. Maybe there's a robin popping around, or who knows, maybe there's an eastern bluebird flying into a nest. If making a nest, if you have a little house for the eastern bluebird. I don't know what you have where you live. I know here where I am, we have beautiful white ibises and all kinds of things here in Florida. But don't forget to thank God for making things like frogs and turtles and salamanders, whatever you have where you live. Don't forget to stop and look and think and remember that God is the one who made everything on this planet, and all the other planets and everything that's in the entire universe was made by God. So we learned about somebody yesterday who was very curious. Do you remember who that was? That's right, Fred Urquhart, and he was curious from the time he was a little guy up until he was an older man. And what was he curious about? Do you remember? That's right, he wanted to know where those monarch butterflies came from and where they went, because he was living up there in Canada and he would see these beautiful orange and black butterflies, and they'd be there for the warmer weather and then they were gone. And he was like, where did they go? And it took him his whole entire life, but he finally did discover, remember that those butterflies up in Canada all started down in Mexico. And you guys look at a map so you see this is quite the journey. God is amazing, isn't he? And God designed the 3rd generation of butterflies with superpowers. Those butterflies are stronger than the rest, I guess you can say, because they travel 8 times farther than all the other butterflies. And they head straight to a place that they've never been before. And that's because our Creator God has programmed those butterflies. And if Fred wasn't so curious, who knows? We probably wouldn't even know that now. But when you stop and you think and you look and you explore, you find out some amazing things in God's world. So today we're going to learn another new word. Are you ready for this one? We know it's important to be curious, but what else? It's also important to be, any guesses? Courageous. Now, if you look at that word, there's another little word right inside it. Can you find that little word? Do you see it? What is it? You see the word courage in there? You know, sometimes it takes courage to worship God. You can think of a lot of people in the Bible that needed courage, right? How about Noah building that ark? Oh my goodness, it had never rained before. And so do you think it was easy to keep working on this big monstrosity year after year, hammering those nails, when all these people were saying, what do you think you're doing? What is that big thing? Ha ha ha, everybody laughing at him. If you want to be courageous, you can't worry about what other people think and are saying about you. You just can't let that bother you. But that can be a hard thing. But you just have to keep going. And you just have to know that there's more there, and maybe somebody else hasn't found out about it yet, but you just keep moving on. So you know it's a really good combination to be curious and courageous. Because if you're curious about God's amazing creation, you need the courage to keep going on and exploring and discovering things about God's world. Other people might say, I don't know about that. You really think it's like that? And you might say, well, we don't know, but let's try to figure this out. Okay, so today we're going to learn about a woman by the name of Dr. Penny Patterson. Now, Dr. Penny started out by being curious about something. She was actually visiting the San Francisco Zoo. I've been there in California. It's a very interesting place, huge zoo, but this was back in 1972, and she saw this 1-year-old little gorilla that had been injured, and the name of this little gorilla was Coco. Isn't Coco cute? But Dr. Penny was curious, and she wanted to know more about this animal, and she wondered, is there any way to communicate? What's going on in the heads of these animals? Are they intelligent enough to communicate? So she decided to try American Sign Language with this little gorilla, and as this gorilla would grow. Now, do you think that took courage? Maybe people laughed at her, like, who thinks a gorilla can actually talk using sign language? But Dr. Penny was very patient, and she had a deep respect for this animal. And she just had this feeling that there was something more locked inside this creation of God. And with God's creations, the deeper you dig, the more you explore, the more you find out. God has put things inside animals that we don't even know yet. But you have to be courageous, and you have to be willing to study, to learn, to discover maybe what other people have not yet discovered. So Dr. Penny started showing Coco signs with her own hand. And then she took Coco's hand and shaped that hand in the same sign that she had just done. Well, Coco began to catch on. Within 2 weeks, Coco was able to sign the words for food and drink. And Penny just kept working with her. And through Coco's life, she learned more than 2,000 words. God is amazing, isn't he? We don't have any idea what he's put into these creations of ours. So Dr. Penny wanted to find out. She started to read books to Coco and show her the pictures in the book and teach her the words. And that's when Coco decided that she really, really, really liked cats. In fact, she liked cats so much, she kept signing cat, cat, cat. She wanted a cat. So Penny bought Coco a stuffed cat. Do you think that was enough? Coco, there's a word that Coco would use when Coco was angry, and that word was red, expressed anger to her. When Coco saw the stuffed cat, she said, "That red!" She started running back and forth in her cage, banging on the walls, doing display charges. And later a friend arrived and said, Coco, will you show me your cat? Coco pulled a blanket over her head. Then the friend said, "Please, Coco, can I see it?" Coco went and got a rag and put it over the stuffed cat. The friend said, "Please, Coco." What do you think Coco did? She handed her a toy dinosaur. Coco wanted nothing to do with the stuffed cat. So the friend said to Dr. Penny, "I think Coco really wants an actual cat." So 6 months later, they found 3 kitties that had been abandoned by their mother. And they brought these 3 little kitties and said, "All right, let's let Coco pick which one." Now, by now, Coco was a big gorilla. You think it took courage for a human to be in her cage? Well, what about a little kitty? But anyway, they took these 3 kitties and they said, "We're going to let Coco choose." And the way Coco liked to choose things, she would blow in the face. I don't know why that was her test. But anyway, she blew in the face of each of these 3 kitties. And it was funny. The first 2 were very startled. And the second one just kind of stared ahead like, what just happened? But anyway, she finally pointed to one of those kitties, and it was the one with no tail. And she pointed and said, "That." Now, a gorilla has no tail, so perhaps that's why Penny liked the one with no tail. So they began to give Coco and this little cat time together, and this little cat lived with Penny, and Penny then quite frequently would take this little cat with her for visits to Coco's cage. And oh my, Coco started signing, "Visit, love, tiger cat." She took that little cat and put that cat on her thigh, pushed that cat to the back of her neck, and then, because that's what, a mama gorilla would do with a baby gorilla. And Penny signed, "What name? What do you want to call this kitty?" And guess what name she named her? All Ball. All Ball. Like it's all a ball of fluff, right? No tail. So All Ball then started being a very good friend to Coco. Well, one night, All Ball snuck away from Penny before Penny got to the cage. All Ball rushed ahead, and Penny said, "Oh no, All Ball's going to get into that cage. I'm not there to see what's happening." And she was very concerned. Do you think it was a problem? No. Coco was very gentle and treated little All Ball like a baby, combed him and petted him. And Coco got to the point that she would examine the eyes, the ears, the mouth of this little kitty. And she was actually more in tune to this kitty than the vet at the zoo. She would find things. She found out when the kitty had ear mites that needed to be taken care of. Coco was the first one to discover that. So Coco cared for All Ball for all of his life. And later, after All Ball was gone, Coco had another kitty, and this one was a reddish kitty, and she named her Lipstick. Do you think God programmed Coco and all the other gorillas to be capable of actually loving another animal, caring for another animal? Do you think God put the ability to communicate inside that gorilla? I think there's a lot we don't know about this amazing planet that God made and all the animals and birds and fish on it. And just like he programmed the super butterfly to fly all the way from Canada down to Mexico, he's programmed all of his creatures to have many kinds of marvelous skills, many of which we haven't even discovered yet. The first angel tells us to worship God because he made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the springs of water. There's just so much we don't know about this vast universe that God made in all of nature. We need to be curious. Maybe you'll be the first one to ask a question that nobody's ever asked before. We need to stop and look and listen, and we need to be courageous. We need to have the courage to explore and find out things in this big world of ours. Even if other people think that our questions are silly or that we're not going to find anything, we can't put a limit on what God can do. Would you like to know a little more about mountain gorillas like Coco? There are two kinds of gorillas in the world. We have the eastern gorilla and we have the western gorilla. Now, do you have a guess? What do you think Coco is, the eastern gorilla or the western gorilla? Any guesses? Well, the mountain gorilla is a kind of eastern gorilla, and they are endangered. Now, this may sound like a big number, but it's not. There's only 1,063 gorillas left in the entire world. That's not a lot. They live in two groups in East Central Africa, and they live in a very high altitude up here in the bamboo forests. Now let me show you the entrance to Volcano National Park where you can see the gorillas. Just in case you ever want to go there, this is what it's going to look like at the entry to that park. I want to go there, and I want to see the monarchs in Mexico too. All right, so these gorillas start out very small, and then they become very big and powerful. When they are born, they only weigh 4 pounds. That's less than a lot of human babies. I know my two sons both weighed a little over 6 pounds. So these gorillas are very tiny, but here's the amazing thing about the way God programmed them. They start out at 4 pounds, and they end up going all the way up to 400 pounds. When they're on all fours, they're about 5'5" tall, which is similar to my height when I'm standing, not on all fours, when I'm standing up. So they're very big on all fours, very high up. And they're pretty much vegetarians. They're known as veggie giants. They eat a plant-based diet. So don't ever let anybody tell you that a plant-based diet is not going to put any weight on you and make you big and strong. They eat 142 different kinds of leaves, stems, shoots, and fruits, and they spend most of their day eating. At night, they cozy up together as a family group, and they sleep in nests on the ground or in trees. So you never want to harm a gorilla because they're family. We know they're caring. Their family would grieve if somebody did something to one of them. Now they have 16 different types of calls. They can bark, they can roar, they can hoot, they can scream, and if they're content and happy, oh boy, they make a deep rumbling burp. Now gorillas show emotions like happy, sad, content, caring, laughing, and they're very intelligent. And how do they know that? By their use of tools. Here's a gorilla using a stick to test how deep the water is. Maybe he wants to go out into the water and he wants to know how deep it is. Here's a gorilla using a stick to get bugs. So God made gorillas to be smart and to have intelligence. God is so amazing, isn't he? Again, as Christians, we don't just look at nature and say, oh wow, isn't that cool? Isn't that interesting? No, we go beyond that. We look at nature and say, wow, that is so amazing that if there's something that is created, there has to be a creator. If there's an amazing creation, that means there's a wonderful, marvelous creator. So let's remember to look all around, to be curious, to ask questions, to be courageous, to think about things that maybe God put into his creatures and to try to figure it out. And never forget to worship God who made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the springs of water. And now it's time for you to get out your paper, your pencils, your crayons, your markers. And I don't think it's too hard for you to guess what you're going to be drawing today. Very, very different from the monarch. It's not quite as pretty as the monarch, and it's not small and fragile like the monarch, because today we are going to be drawing a gorilla. Very different. Each day I want to try to give you something different. Maybe some of you like drawing beautiful, fragile things like the monarch, and maybe other people like drawing strong things like the gorilla. I don't know. And there's just different kinds of art techniques in each one that you'll begin to see. But as you draw, remember that God loves you so much that he put all these interesting and amazing things on our planet for us to enjoy. Okay? Now it's going to be time for you to repeat with me our 4 drawing rules. So I want you to say them with me, and I want you to mean them and to remember as you draw our 4 drawing rules. You ready? Number 1, I will not compare my work with others. No, 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 no. Number 2, I will not get frustrated. Number 3, I can always try again later. And number 4, I will have fun. Okay, so take your time, and I look forward to seeing your pictures on our Facebook group page. Okay, how do you like this guy? God makes some amazing creatures, doesn't he? Today we are going to draw a gorilla. Now bear with me. At the beginning, you're going to think that it's not going to look like a gorilla, but it will. It will. So it doesn't matter about the exact shape of the head. You'll see mine looks a little crazy. Okay, so I'm starting at the very top of my paper now, and I'm trying to make kind of a long circle, and I'm just kind of sketching it out here. It's more than just round. It's more of an ellipse, It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, now this is kind of like you're making a mask. Imagine you're making a mask, but don't fill it all the way to the bottom. So you see how it curves at the top, and then another line copying the line that you just made at the top, and then around, and then stop. Okay? All right? Kind of looks like, maybe like a little bow. Now we're making a heart. We're making a heart, but not the bottom. Okay? And now again, just the sides of that heart, curve around a little bit, and then follow that line right below it. Okay? That's your head. Now I know this looks a little crazy, but it's going to work. Okay? Now your eye and your other eye, just in the top of that bow tie there. Okay? You've got your basics here. If you can do this, you're going to be fine. And I'm putting an ear here and an ear here. Okay? If you can do this, just take your time. Now I'm going to make another heart inside that heart, just like a smaller heart inside the bigger one, and coloring it in black. But if you can do this, you can make your gorilla. All right, and I'm leaving a little bit of white in the middle when I color that in. Okay, darkening up this side of the heart here. You're going to be surprised. Again, I'm not an artist. You can tell by looking at this, but the more you work on something, the more you can get it to look like it. All right, so I'm putting a few little lines there, and now I'm going to be coloring around inside that mask-like area, but I'm leaving my eyes. I'm not going to color the eyes in, so I'm taking my black marker and just going around here and coloring in. Okay, coloring all in around that mask-like area, and you can close it in now at the bottom if you want. All right, dark marker, dark black crayon or something. All right, so you got that part done. Looks like he's wearing a mask. Put a few little lines now below that mask, above that heart, which you know now is the nose. Okay. All right, now I'm going to color my eyes. Now I'm happening to make mine kind of a reddish color. You can make yours yellow. If you can, try to leave a tiny little white in there. And then actually, I'm putting my black dots. But it's good if you can see the white inside the black dot, just a tiny bit of white. I got that on one of my eyes. Okay, now for the hair. Okay, so it's just going up and out, up and out. And hair grows, you know how you have a part in the middle, so hair grows to one side and then to the other, kind of. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give him a part. So I'm working on one side of the head and then the other. All right, and then I'm going to come back down here. It looks like I kind of want to fix my mask. Maybe yours doesn't look like it needs to be fixed, but mine looks like it was a little small and I wanted to fix it. So I took a little break from the hair. Okay, and down around here, here we go. Just making the hair dark lines, light lines, however you want to do it. But a gorilla is a very hairy animal. So we're just making some fatter lines and some smaller lines to kind of make him look a little hairy. But save that extra place around the mask. Save that because we're going to do a different color for that. But you see how I'm doing out one side of the head, over, kind of curved lines, and eventually I'll fill that in there. Okay? So this is time to just make your gorilla look hairy. So you're just going around the face, around the mask, and working that area. It's really amazing how Coco learned to communicate. Who would have known if Dr. Penny didn't do that work? Who would have known that God made that gorilla so smart that he could be taught to communicate? And who knew that God even put emotions and feelings in the gorilla? And I kind of think if he did that for the gorilla, he must have done that for other animals too. So we want to be careful. You don't want to hurt animals, you know. They have feelings, they can feel pain, and I think animals can feel emotions too. And we know that from our pets. But who knew that you could teach a gorilla to communicate? So I'm just working away here, darkening that other line. And now I'm going to get this kind of a light tan color and fill in what is still white here. Okay? So the nose, which was your heart, filling that in with this kind of a light tan color. Is it starting to look more like a gorilla? Are you surprised? The way I started out, it looked pretty sad, I agree, but I felt like I'm just going to keep working it because it's my picture. So remember, yours won't look like everybody else's. Not every gorilla looks like it. Okay, here we go in the arms. Now, he's a strong guy, so I'm going to round these arms to kind of make him look muscular. So you see how rounded that is on both sides, and then just to the edge of the paper. Okay, again, give him big shoulders. Don't make it too close to the head. Nice big shoulders. Round them out and then down so we can tell that this is a strong creature, okay? All right, here's the basic body of our gorilla. And now we're just going to have to do the same thing, is put some hair on him. And you notice how I'm curling them in the same direction as the arms, around and around, around and around. So that kind of keeps the shape. So if people look at it, they still see the shape of those arms because I'm making the hair kind of going with that same shape. Some are fatter lines, some are skinnier lines. All right, so just fill in some nice hair on that gorilla, and you're getting close to being done. It's really amazing. It's kind of crazy looking, but I'm okay with it. First, when I looked at it, I was like, this is a little crazy, but I think if somebody looks at it, they know it's a gorilla. So that's the main thing. They can tell it's a gorilla. Okay, so just make yours however you want it. Add some hair. And again, you can add another color. We can put a little bit of silver in here. I think this could be called a silverback gorilla. So in a little while, I'll add a little gray. But I'm just going around. And you notice under the head here, I'm making a little shadow under the chin. Try to give it a little bit of a 3D look. So that's why you make it darker in some places, darkening up the mouth a little bit, darkening around there so that there's a little shadow there. That's how you indicate that. Now I'm going to add some gray in here so that there's some different colors, just to kind of give it a different effect so that you're not looking all at the same color. And if you want to put some brown in yours with the black, you can do that. If you don't want to put silver, you don't have to put silver, okay? But I'm choosing to just add a little silver, add a little dimension to mine. And, you know, whatever color you want to add to yours, that's fine. I'll be looking forward to seeing yours, but I'm just sticking a little bit in here and seeing what I can do to kind of fill this out. So this is my gorilla. I don't know if it's Coco, but it's a suggestion. When we do art, we're making a suggestion of a gorilla. Doing a little more shading underneath here. All right. Adding a little more black. Sometimes you can do it in layers. You add a little silver, add a little black, stand back and look at it and say, what do I need to do to make mine look just a little better? So just keep filling yours in. It's probably a little easier for you if you have crayons or something too. But it's good if you have a combination of crayons and markers, because then you can make different kinds of lines, fat lines as well as thinner lines. So I'm almost done. I think my hair up here might need a few little strands, just a few little things. And I'm going to try to add a little white to my eyes. That might be hard for you to do if you color them all in black, but I'm just going to try to add a little glow to them. All right, I think I am about done. I just think God is amazing to make the gorilla that could actually communicate and experience feelings. So have fun finishing up yours. Don't get frustrated. You can always try it again. And I'm really looking forward to seeing yours. So we'll see yours soon. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you next time.